Does Erik Ten Hag need to go? Manchester United currently sit 7th in the Premier League table and are having a very, very inconsistent season so far. I personally do not think Ten Hag should be going just yet, and I'm going to tell you boys my reasoning for that in a wee second, but when we watch United this season, there just seems to be no pattern of play. I can understand anyone saying Ten Hag out because, on paper at any other football club, you would do it. If Ten Hag's managing City, he's gone. Ten Hag's managing Liverpool, he's gone. If Ten Hag's managing Arsenal, he's gone. When I watch this season, not only is it super boring 90% of the time, but it just seems to be there's no style of play. There just seems to be no style of play evidence, no patterns of play, and the players just seem to be doing everything off the cuff. Whatever first pops into their head, they're doing. There's no thought process, no tactics behind it. When you're watching it, whether as a United fan like myself or a neutral fan, it ain't very clear to say, put it that way. Whenever we win games, I can't even get excited as a fan. I can't buy into it because whenever I'm watching a game, whether we win, draw, or lose, I can't get excited because I'm just thinking most times when we win, it's not even a convincing performance, and we've just capitalized off the opponent's mistake, which is fair enough, but there's no long-term strategy or no long-term game plan in place where we can go, yeah, I can see what Ten Hag's doing, I want him to stay, and it's going to be a platform for us to achieve success this season and beyond. There's nothing in place for that. Now, we know for many seasons now, Manchester United have had a big issue breaking down, a low defensive block, teams sitting back against us, we can't break them down. Our players are suited to fast transition, counter-attacking style of play, which, we had under Ollie as well, and on previous managers. That was our thing, we're going to absorb the pressure, hit teams on the break with our pace, with our fast transition players, and hopefully it can go. When you watch us, sometimes that just seems what we're like. We seem to be back in Ollie, playing Ollie football again, or the football we played under Jose. Teams obviously are on to us. They know, we beat Aston Villa on Wednesday night, and yeah, as I say, I can't get too excited about it because I think to myself, it's a brilliant result, brilliant comeback, and obviously I'm joyous, I'm really happy with the win, but I think there's always that thing in the back of my head thinking, I'm not going to get carried away anyway because we're sitting mid-table even after the Villa win, but it's just typical of our season. We'll beat one of the top teams in the league this year, which is Villa. Villa are one of the top teams in the league this year on form so far, halfway through the season. Go and beat them, go win 2-0 down, come back and win 3-2, and then lose to Forest at the weekend. The Forest, obviously, they're onto us. They know we can't break down. When they sit rigid and they defend well, which they done, and fair play to Forest, they were more than worthy of those 3 points on Saturday. They that's what teams know. Teams know what to do against us because we don't create enough chances. So yeah, obviously Forest defended well, and they were more than worthy of the 3 points, man. They deserved that win on Saturday. But it just sums up United in a nutshell. That's it this season, That's what we're like, We go and beat Villa, one of the top teams, then lose to Nottingham Forest here, towards the bottom end of the table. It's crazy, and that's why game to game, you feel like United win one, then lose one. And no matter who it's against, we got a draw at Anfield last month, so it doesn't even matter who it's against. There's been times where I just feel like it's like a 1-to-1 ratio right now. 1 win to 1 loss. We couldn't be more inconsistent if we tried. We are super inconsistent. Every win we get, and it's a statement win against Villa on last week, you feel like that's the bounce back we needed. That's going to be the kickstart, We're gonna that's not United back, but that's us back in a little bit of form, where hopefully we can go on a run of wins, go on a run of good results, and start to really challenge for this top 4 spot this season. But then of course Forest happens, and we're back to square one again. Now you boys are probably thinking, Jack, you're saying all this, but you're still Ten Hag in. And as I say, I am. Yes, and I'm going to explain this now, boys. I mean, one thing I will say, as I said earlier in the video, if he was at any other club that was run properly, structured well, like an Arsenal, Liverpool, City, I'd be firmly Ten Hag out, 100%. Because he's at Manchester United and the circus that surrounds our football club, I do not believe we should be sacking him just yet. Obviously, don't get me wrong, there's a point in time where if results stay the same, he keeps getting, there's going to be, he can only lose a certain amount of games. If he keeps losing and drawing and losing and the odd win here and there and then losing most games, he's going to be gone, and yeah, that every fan knows that. There's a certain threshold where, he'll sack himself. Some people would say he's already doing that, and I would probably agree in some of his decisions, which I'll get onto in a bit. But yeah, there's comes a point where he will get sacked on his own, if he keeps what he's doing up and the results don't change. And the 3-year rebuild doesn't even exist anymore, because United could say we actually do, say any Ineos that come in now, right? Jim, etc. comes in with Ineos, 25% of the club, and we actually make positive change, and we have a good 3-year spell. And this is a big, massive if here, but even if it is successful, right, over the 3 years, with Sir Jim's 25% ownership and he makes an impact, right? Even if that happens, and it's a massive, massive if, other teams develop. That's football now, man. Man City will evolve, Arsenal will evolve, Liverpool will evolve. They'll get even stronger. So we've a gap to close at the minute. Even if we were to get closer, they're gonna go here. We can't. The gap's always gonna remain because these teams evolve as well. That's the big thing. Even if we have a great 2 or 3 years, other teams are gonna evolve and stay on top of us, because that's modern football. Teams are structured, brilliantly these days at the top level. Your team needs to be, your club needs to be structured from top to bottom if you're going to achieve success. Everything needs to be in place for success to be achieved. So, these teams are. That's why Liverpool have enjoyed the success they've had winning, the Champions League and league in recent years. City obviously won the treble last year and they've enjoyed league titles over the last few years. Arsenal are now starting to improve things. Yes, they're still a work in progress, but they're seeing, without winning anything crazy yet, they're still seeing, regular progress season on season. Where's United at? Ten Hag, as I say, any other club, for me, I'd be firmly Ten Hag out. But for this one, any other club, I'd be Ten Hag out. If he was manager of any other club, I'd be Ten Hag out. But for me, I just see the same cycle running again. If we sack Ten Hag now, say, we've seen the same under Ole, Jose, Van Gaal, Ranić for the short time he was at the club. It's the cycle continues, man. Because then a new manager has to come in. They have to reinstate their philosophy to the players. They have to buy the players that fit with their philosophy. And the whole thing just takes ages and ages and ages. Yeah, at the minute I see Ten Hag, there's two sides you can look at it. There's things he's doing. He is not without fault. I can see it, and I'm sure a lot of you boys can see it if you're United fans as well. There's things he's doing where you just can't defend it. He brings on McTominay there against Forest on Saturday for Mainu. I didn't think Mainu was doing that bad. He brings McTominay on. Okay, you bring McTominay on. Don't think Mainu had an injury or had a knock in the game. So I don't really understand that change. Mainu was done alright. He brings McTominay on at half time. So a half time change substitute would suggest that Mainu was either playing bad or injured. Didn't see either of those things happening. Brings McTominay on. Then McTominay was directly involved in the 2 goals Nottingham Forest scored. Okay, so you've made a blunder. Are you going to take accountability for that in the post-match press conference? No. He backs McTominay and says it wasn't his fault. He's got to sack himself with the things he's doing. McTominay is not on his own with that one either. There's other players, that he's sticking with that shouldn't be playing. And, it's been identified by a lot of people that we do think Ten Hag has got, some favourites in that club. So, there's so many reasons that I could say, yes, I'm Ten Hag out. But, and as I say, he's not going to help himself. And if things continue, I think he will be sacked. Well, he's got to be sacked. He'll give the board no choice. But I also think on the other side of the coin, boys, and why I'm still saying Ten Hag in, as well as the fact that I've already said where I don't want the cycle, having to, redo the cycle again, go through another, 3 to 4 year, go through another manager where we get another manager bounce for a year, and then the same thing happens here in 2-3 years in 2025, 2026. We don't want that happening. I don't want to go through that again. But the other reason as well is the squad. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has brought in some of his players he wants, like the Onanas, like the Anthonys, so he has players in there where, yes, that's on him, Onana came in, obviously we know about that deal. It's not looking too good at the minute, is it? Letting De Gea go, because of the wage structure. A bit like what's happening with Varane right now. That was the De Gea issue with the wages, and he ultimately was let go for free. And then obviously Onana comes in, we spent 50 million on him, and he's not as good as a goalkeeper as De Gea. So that's obviously a big issue. That's on Ten Hag. Anthony as well was his signing, and we know what Anthony's like. Obviously very, very one-dimensional on that wing, very predictable. Needs to work on his game. Needs to work on his left foot. The thing with it as well is Ten Hag, right? He's the manager. He has to structure that squad. The style of football, the pattern of play. It's on him to an extent. Also, though, you could argue, does he have the facilities? Does he have the resources? Does he have the players to actually play the way he wants to? Because I mean, you look at it and you think, right, Højlund, good player, very talented, obviously a work in progress. But is he getting the service? No. You got Rashford on one side, Anthony on the other side. Now they're like striker wingers. Now obviously that makes no sense, but you know what I mean. They're, in terms of they've got a striker mindset at wing. They want to score goals. Now wingers of course need to chip in with goals, but rather than their first priority, Anthony's first priority to cut inside and shoot. Rashford the same, or to run at their man and then shoot. They don't. Their first thought is not to let's get a yard on our fullback and get a ball in the box for Højlund, or play an intricate pass in there for Højlund. Their link up to Højlund ain't there. The connection ain't there. Their first thought is to get a shot away, more often than not from a stupid angle that's just not a high percentage chance of going in, rather than feeding Højlund for a better higher percentage chance. So we know Højlund's not getting the service. The team is disjointed in terms of the front line. Rashford obviously we know is having a very, very poor season so far. Very low goal return, and obviously we know Anthony Wesley puts the work in going back. From attacking standpoint, he's played well in a couple of games, but in terms of consistency and giving us a real source of creativity, it's not there. Now the midfield's another issue. Obviously, I'd say our first choice midfield at the minute is probably Bruno, Mainu, and McTominay. That's probably his three that he would play. Now, as I say, it's one of those ones where the midfield this season and the defense as well, because of our injuries, we've had to change it around so many times as well. Where last year we had the Martinez, Shaw, Varane, and Delo most of the season, or Wan-Bissaka. We had that cohesion in the back four. This season, we had the same in the midfield as well. We had Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno for most of last year too. This year, there's been a lot of change in the defense, in the starting back line, and also in the midfield three as well. So that obviously has stopped us from build momentum in performances in those areas of the pitch, and also in terms of building that cohesion that we built up last season as a squad. Now, you always see Ten Hag in press conferences, he always doesn't blame injuries, but he nearly does it in a way where he says, I don't want to blame it. He doesn't want to blame injuries, but he knows they're an impact, which they are, but you can't blame too much on it because obviously every club has injuries, you know, especially right now as well. Obviously, this video's got up in January, you know, around December, January time, where, you know, when teams are stretched, squads are stretched, when there's a lot of games over the festive period into the new year, players do, you know, generally pick up a lot of knocks. So yeah, a lot of teams have injuries. You can't really blame it on that. But so yeah, I'd love to know your boys' thoughts in the comments. Are you Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out? Now, only answer that if you're a United fan. I don't want Teddy fans coming in here saying, oh, I'm still Ten Hag in, you know, because you think he's awful, or, you know, whatever. Yeah, if you're a United fan, answer it. If you're a neutral fan, though, let me know your general thoughts on Ten Hag. Do you see a pathway where he can start, you know, getting back to what he was like last season? Or do you think he's on the, you know, the journey to the sacking, basically? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to read those as I say, so I'd love to see what your boys' thoughts are on this Manchester United's, you know, the issues, the ever-present issues at Manchester United. They're always here. There just seems to be always issues, man. Ever since I've been a United fan, there always seems to be issues with this club, you know? I had 1 or 2 good years, boys, of supporting this club where we had glory, and then, yeah, ever since it's just been quite depressing, to be completely honest. But, yeah, as I say, I'm still Ten Hag in. I back him. I do not think he is untouchable. I think there's going to be a point where there's some decisions he's making at the minute where if he continues to do those, he's going to sack himself. If results don't change and change quickly, he's going to sack himself. But I also think that, is there a squad in place for him where you think they can play the style of football he wants to play? And obviously, I don't want to have to go through this cycle again, man. We're all fed up with these United fans where we just, you know, we have the 1 year bounce with a new manager, players go play for them, and then after that, it just goes to shit, where second season's a bit of a fall off, which we're experiencing now, and then either this season, later on this season, or maybe in third season syndrome. Well, we've talked about that before, where the manager eventually goes, and then the whole cycle resets. I don't want to go through it. There'll come a time where maybe we have to go through it again if the manager keeps doing what he's doing. But the minute, I'm still Ten Hag in. The big thing as well is obviously with this 25% Ineos stuff, boys. You know, the Ineos or Jim Ratcliffe coming in. Does he back Erik Ten Hag? Because for him, he's took on this project. I know he's not got majority ownership. Anything Ineos do is probably gonna have to go through the Glazers because they've obviously meant, you know, majority ownership of the club. So Ten Hag wants a player. He goes through Sir Jim. Sir Jim's gonna have to get the ultimate approval of the Glazers eventually for every signing we do. Yeah, so the Glazers are gonna have to sign it off anyway as well. But ultimately, Sir Jim's took on this project. You know, he's invested his money into the club, 25% ownership. Does he back Ten Hag? Does he want Ten Hag as his manager? Because ultimately, he's a United fan, right? He's a supposed United fan, so surely he knows what's needed at this football club. So he's the intermediate between being a fan and being a business owner, right? He's a fan working within the club, so surely he knows what should be done, or I'd like to think he knows what needs to be done, and I'm sure he knows it's going to be a process. But the thing about Sir Jim is obviously this is an investment for him. So is he trusting that investment with Ten Hag? Does he want Ten Hag to be the manager, or is he going to want someone else in charge of the club? Whatever money's available in January, does he back Ten Hag with that? You know, does he trust them? I guess time will tell. But yeah, let me know your boys' thoughts. Appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one, man. Peace out.